Our story starts with a man dressed all in black standing at a grave. He vows to the one who comes to visit her that he'll do the impossible to stop her death. Of course, only God has that power. Anyway, she was sleeping peacefully until he called her at dawn saying, "I'm drunk, come to the bar, pick me up." She got up and got ready, cursing him and regretting the hour she first started working with him, because not proud of it, she works for him 24 hours a day, not 8 hours like ordinary people. You could say she basically has no life and lives only to serve him. And that's what he told the people he drinks with. They were betting he could get her there right away to prove to them that this girl only ever answers him with, "I'm here," and "yes." And honestly, they were really shocked that someone like her even exists when they saw her. And the leader of the group told her, "Your arrival cost him the bet, so he has to drink everything that's left." She stepped forward to drink in his place, but the man said, "Shame on you. How can a girl drink instead of him?" And he was about to drink in her place, reaching his hand toward her in a very improper way. That's when Mr. Wei told him, "Keep your hands to yourself, you lightweight," and dragged him off to the bathroom, saying he would teach him how to drink properly. A big commotion broke out, and Yuan followed them, begging him to open the door and not make a reckless scene right before the company board meeting, since his reputation was important at that time. But the real surprise came when she broke the door and went in. The guy was actually knocked out asleep, and our hero had just fooled them all. Once she realized that, she noticed she was somehow in his arms, since he had grabbed her the moment she entered. She got flustered, quickly pulled away and told him, "Pretend to be drunk! Pretend to be drunk!" Then she took him and the secretary out with her. Of course, you'll ask why he kept acting drunk in front of the secretary. I'll tell you. She started suspecting him the moment Yuan told him, "Goodbye, you two. I'll stay with him tonight so I can wake him for the morning meeting." And indeed, the secretary slipped away and called someone saying, "Yuan the know-it-all ruined our plan. Even though I put the drug in his glass with my own hands, he didn't drink it because of her." The man on the other end got angry and said Yuan was too clever and sharp, and they had to get rid of her, one way or another. As for Wei, the man ordered the secretary to keep watching him until the board meeting. Then they'd decide what to do with him. Meanwhile, Wei took his shower and sat remembering some mysterious childhood memories. After that, someone sent him the CCTV footage of the place he was at, showing the secretary slipping the drug into his drink, and also a video of him holding Yuan in his arms. And she told him, "Don't thank me. I know I'm tough, and no one's ever looked like that when they know her." But he wasn't thinking about any of that. He only kept replaying the hug in his head. He went downstairs to check on her, and found her asleep on the couch. After a while, she woke up and went to stare at the sky while he watched her from above, scrolling through a page named High School Uniforms. So maybe she had been at the same school with him. Let's continue and see. The next day, she went out to wake him. The big shot was awake, but pretending to be asleep and wouldn't open the door. Suddenly she knocked and he opened it, and she found herself banging on the bench, a situation God forbid anyone be in, but they both got through it. He drove her to the company in his car because the boss was acting all sleepy and couldn't drive, just because he liked the attention she gave him. After they arrived at the company, he kept playing games while she worked until he called her over and had her read special reports to him just so she'd sit with him longer. Between you and me, this guy is crazy about her, but he usually doesn't show it because we're still at the start of the series and he wants to take things slow. She felt that being with him in the office was completely different, and she told her colleague how considerate Mr. Wei was. He even let her sit inside the air-conditioned office because their office AC was broken. He was flattering but polite and respectful. She hurried off to make it to her blind date, maybe hoping to meet Mr. Reed instead of spending her whole life staring at Mr. Wei. Seconds after she got in her car, she found him already there ahead of her, saying, "I'll get you there. I'm a manager who likes to look after his staff." Of course, she was about to melt and ask when he'd become so sweet, but she didn't have time to waste on him. She got in the car with him, and she wished she hadn't, because halfway down the road, her brakes stopped working. They tried to control the situation, but in the end, they crashed. The hero tried everything he could to protect her, and thankfully, neither of them was hurt. He called his shy doctor friend to come and help and take them home. After the heroine was dropped off, he told the doctor that what happened was sabotage, and that it was the work of his traitorous secretary and whoever was behind him. The doctor said, "But how could they do that to you? Your father's will says that if you die, your fortune goes to the Animal Protection Association. Surely they wouldn't care about you." But our hero knew very well that Ewan was the real target, so they could get rid of her and push her away from him. He told him, "I'm putting her in danger as long as she's by my side, and I need to make a strict decision." As for Ewan, she went back home and stood there staring at her broken car and her destroyed phone. She comforted herself, thinking he'd probably compensate her properly later. For now, she decided to make do with an old red phone that a neighbor had given her long ago before moving away, asking her to take good care of it. She sat wondering what that old man was doing now and where his son, the Moon Boy, was. Suddenly she froze and felt shocked. "So I give you my 10 fingers as candles, my soul, my mind, and even my car as sacrifice, and you just throw me out on the doorstep? That's too much, Mr. Way." She stormed into the company, slammed the door, and shouted at him, "You're firing me after all the darkness I've endured with you, all I've tolerated, and I was the one patient with your nonsense, telling myself he's pitiful, just bear with him." He told her, "Here's your end of service compensation, but honestly, I never knew you saw me as such a terrible person. If there's anything else in your heart, then please say it now." She answered, "No, you're someone who's just easy to forget," and she left him. As she was walking away, she suddenly collapsed. He caught her, and the fake anger he had been showing turned into overwhelming fear for her. He rushed her to the hospital to his doctor friend and told him to keep an eye on her. He explained what had happened, that he fired her, and that's why she lost control. His friend cursed him and told him he had never seen such stupidity, because while trying to protect her from the villains in the company, he had almost killed her himself. What was he thinking, keeping silent like that? That wasn't his nature at all. He told his friend, "Don't let Yuan leave the hospital. As long as she's here, she'll be safe." Then he left him stuck, not knowing what to say to the girl who already had nothing. The doctor went into her room, circling around, asking about her family. She told him, "Family? I have none. Friends? I have none. I'm alone in this world. So if I'm going bankrupt soon, just say it straight, doctor. Don't hold back." The doctor didn't know what to say until she noticed a report he had with no name on it, but the word cancer was written on it. She assumed it was hers, took it to heart, and broke down crying, asking him to leave her alone. He walked out cursing his friend, saying he'd soon strip him of his white coat. Then she received a very strange call on the red phone from a man telling her, "If you're in the year 2024, don't go to the C+ Hotel on December 31st, 2024. She cursed him out and hung up, thinking, as if dying wasn't enough, now I have to deal with phone scammers too. The kind who say, "Muhammad, your dad found some ancient treasure. I've got enough on my plate already." At least that's what she thought, but now I've got the juicy twist. Let me take you with me into 2025, where we haven't been yet. There we find Wei, dressed all in black again, walking out with Yuan, and holding that same red phone. In the blink of an eye, its date flips from 2024 to 2025. That means we're stepping into some time-warping mess, and who knows where it will take us. May God protect us. Meanwhile, Wei went to see the big boss, the mastermind behind all these schemes, who is clearly greedy for the company. Wei said to him, "Did you see, uncle? I fired that useless girl Yuan because she almost killed me with her car and nearly sent me to join my late father. If that had happened, who would have run the company?" The old man gave him a sly yellow smile and said, "No, my dear, of course they'll choose you to take over the company in the next board meeting. Sure, you're not really cut out for work, but I'm right behind you, my sweet nephew." So our guy laid it on thick with flattery, then left. But the old man, who pretends to be kind, yet is actually more wicked than the villain played by Adele Adam, managed to catch on to Wei's acting, and muttered to the secretary that the boy was just spouting nonsense. But the secretary figured out that the nephew was just a fool, not an actor, and that firing his assistant was nothing more than a coincidence, something that could happen any day. Meanwhile, Yuan found out he was at a party, so she went to tell him she accepted the compensation he promised her. He told her, "You have nothing to get from me," and threw her into the pool with him. She told him she had cancer, but he didn't believe her, saying she was just trying to fool him with that excuse. When they got out, he made a deal with her. If she drank a full bottle of wine, he'd give her the money for the surgery. He thought she wouldn't be able to do it, but she finished it easily. At that moment, he started remembering the past, The time when he tried to kill himself, and her knocking on his door was what saved him. And it turned out he was the same Moon Boy, the son of her old neighbor, who gave her the red phone. She hadn't realized it yet, but Wei knew right away as soon as he saw her CV and hired her at the company. Anyway, even after she drank the whole bottle, he still rejected her, telling her she had no pride. That was when she completely lost it, shouted at him in front of the whole party, cursing him and the rich people who never appreciated the struggles of the middle class. Then, she stormed out of the party. Wei tried to hold himself together and act like he didn't care in front of the traitorous secretary. Afterward, he got in his car and the old man assumed he was heading to see the heroine at the hospital, so he sent the secretary after him. But at that moment, our hero called the doctor, told him everything, and asked him to take care of Yuan when she got back to the hospital. He also told him that the secretary was spying on him and that he was about to confront him and his boss. Wei stopped his car in the middle of the road, dragged the secretary out, and called the old man directly, telling him he knew all his dirty tricks and that he'd better leave both him and Yuan alone. But the shameless old man told him the board meeting was coming soon, and a lot of things would change there. Then he added, "By the way, your father's accident wasn't entirely a coincidence. Think about that." The hero becomes certain that these people are the ones who killed his father years ago, and now they plan to finish him too, but he will not allow that, and will expose them openly. He agrees to meet the old man tomorrow. The next morning, we see a lively girl rushing to the hospital, and keep in mind she is the one who helped our hero and sent him the camera footage. We see her first encounter with the shy doctor, and it looks like we are waiting for a couple completely opposite from each other, the white coat and the black leather jacket. At that moment, our heroine is in the hospital and receives another call from the strange number. He tells her to listen and not search for "we" on December 31st, 2024, or else her life will be in danger. To prove he is serious, he tells her the winning lottery ticket number of the day and that she is not sick. Her report with the doctor confirms it, and he mentions a certain place before the line suddenly cuts off before she can understand what that place means. Imagine how shocked she would be if she knew the caller was "we" himself. She would be sent to the emergency room right away. After that, the doctor comes in to check on her and tells her they must remove her wisdom tooth. She asks what that has to do with cancer, and he replies that before the operation it is necessary to take out the wisdom tooth. She goes along with his words, but later she storms into his office with her real report in hand and says to him, "You see these 3 versions from Good Doctor? Do you like them so much? Why are you lying to me? Or shall we go together to the director?" He tells her that her director, God forgive him, is the reason, and that he kept her here on purpose to protect her, and that his intentions are good. She replies that he is deceitful and only wants to humiliate her, not protect her, and declares that she is leaving immediately. She carries out her words and leaves. When Wei hears this from the doctor, he sends the lively girl to watch her and keep an eye on her. She told him the girl was strange, and the first thing she did after leaving the hospital was buy a lottery ticket. Honestly, Wei wasn't paying much attention to that and went to meet the big man and his men, including the traitorous secretary. But he couldn't find the old man, and instead found them threatening him. "Sign the transfer of the shares or die like your father." Wei told them to do whatever they had. And at that time, our heroine was throwing a little celebration because she'd won the ticket. She paused for a second and realized everything the caller had said was true. She wasn't sick, and she had won the ticket. So the only thing left was the place he'd mentioned. She jumped on her motorcycle and went there hoping to find a clue, and found Wei surrounded by his men trying to drag him away by force. She ran at them with her pepper spray, but it wasn't enough, so our guy started hitting them until the lively girl arrived to back him up. She left our heroine's motorcycle there, and the lively girl's leader jumped on it because it matched the situation. Yuan was happy seeing this new side of him for the first time until the traitorous secretary showed up, who, as it turned out, wasn't really a traitor but acting in a play with our hero against the big man. Mr. Wei turned out to be honorable and sent the doctor to take the lively girl in his car. He was amazed by the crazy coincidence, since he had just met her that morning while parking his car. Meanwhile, our heroes returned to his house, and he told her everything. They'd been trying to kill him before tomorrow's meeting if he didn't transfer the shares, and hand the company over, and he explained that he'd fired her to protect her from them. She understood that they had been trying to kill her and said, "It feels like you're killing me with you and protecting me just to divert their attention away from the important person you're actually afraid for. Isn't it the party girl or maybe your friend the doctor who seems like a medical student from literature?" He told her, "Good morning, Yuan. I'm doing all of this for you because I love you." Of course, she didn't let him finish his words and told him he was fooling her and she wouldn't believe him again, and that the lottery ticket already got soaked in blood from the fight and was ruined. He wanted to tell her that he remembered how her presence in his life back then saved him from ending it all, but he didn't want to open that subject, so he settled for compensating her financially for the lottery ticket. He told her that after tomorrow's board meeting, their whole lives would change, and they would get the company back on its feet again. Allow me here for a second, because it wouldn't be right to hide it from you. Mr. Wei in 2025 remembered the cursed day when he lost Yuan and said he had to tell her that he was only 1 year away from her. Anyway, let's go back to 2024 and disconnect from Wei 2025, who unfortunately looked miserable and his mustache was about to eat the screen like he was pretending to be a boss. Look at the boy in 2024, his face shining, glory to the changer of conditions. Anyway, at that time, he and the heroine were heading to the company to attend the meeting and met the lively girl downstairs, then went up with her to find the big man at his limit after the secretary had exposed him in front of the shareholders and revealed that he was planning to set up Wei and betray him. The shareholders sided with him, which encouraged Wei to say, "Let's spray some bug killer and chase out the flies filling the company." Then he appointed Yuan and the lively girl to high positions to help him with the work instead of the flies. After that, he spoke with the big man for the last time, and he told him, "You were the last person who spoke to my father before he died, so tell me, what did you say to him then?" The man said it was a silly call that wouldn't help with anything, and threatened that he would regret what he was doing and no one could save him. So our boy called the police on him because his intentions were evil. After that, the doctor came to the company very excited and proud of his friend who had defeated the villain. The lively girl said to him, "So this is your friend you told me about, the one who was with you through thick and thin?" And he replied, "An honor, miss," trying to act like he wasn't shy, but honestly, he was such a little chick and it showed. The truth is, he was exposed even more when he sat down telling the hero he needed to be a man, to be a lion, and started explaining everything to Yuan, saying that they had known each other for a long time, and with just one look from her, her heart would soften, and she would forgive him. But Wei laughed, because the doctor was saying all this while staring at the lively girl, so she teased him, and said she'd take it as flirting and would disappear. You know him. He got embarrassed and didn't say another word for the rest of the day. As for Yuan, a little while later, she went to Wei's office and told him she wanted to resign, because he hadn't asked her opinion about the new position, and she wouldn't accept the idea that he only did it to make up for what happened between them before. So he apologized, and she accepted his apology, and they weren't upset with each other anymore. That's it, yes. What did you expect? What did you... Anyway, at that time he found out that the big man had escaped from the police, which meant that he wasn't the only one involved in all those shady dealings. There were people even bigger behind him. So he asked our heroine to take care of herself, and after that, Yuan was going back home. Her neighbor, the one who ran the restaurant downstairs, told her she was going to the hospital because her daughter was giving birth. As soon as the woman walked away, the red phone rang, and the caller gave the phone to the restaurant owner. She said to her, "Where are you, bride? My grandson already turned 1 year old and you vanished into the earth." The bride felt like a tower in her mind was about to collapse. And then the caller told her not to leave the company and not to leave Wei. After that, he told her he was in 2025 and only allowed to call her once a day and at a certain time too. Then suddenly, the line cut, and she was left frozen in her place, not understanding the madness happening. So she went back to the company very normally and said she would just go along with the flow. The first thing she did was fix his outfit style for the interview he was supposed to have at the company, and then he took her to buy a parrot before she dragged him along to a cafe to cover for a blind date that had gone wrong. While he was sitting by himself, he called the doctor to vent that, first of all, she was on a blind date, and second, she didn't even notice that the parrot looked exactly like the one he used to have at home when they were kids. Meanwhile, she and the groom-to-be were agreeing that the relationship wouldn't work because she told him she wasn't thinking about marriage and he already liked another girl and only came to get rid of his parents' pressure. But our hero doesn't know any of that. When he went home, he remembered the first time he met her, when he opened his door for her and acted like her brother to the man bothering her, and realized then that they were neighbors. Like I said, that day he had intended to kill himself, and her knocking on the door saved him. Now he's worried she might not remember him at all. If you care about what's happening in 2025, you should know Way 2025 has been getting flashes of memories from 2024, like the fight with the thugs, him and Ewan together. And he's starting to realize events can change, and that maybe he can fix what got messed up. Back to our little party and scandal in 2024, it wasn't really a party, more like a disgrace. The short version, our hero woke up to find his old notebooks open, and his stories with Susu and Shosho all over the internet. He went and arranged with them to act like nothing was going on in front of Ewan, then leave them alone. The girls were cooperative, but a pushy woman burst into the place. She looked like she knew him from before. The two girls left, and the pushy one clung to him. He told her, "Sorry, I'm taken." And she replied, "That line won't work on me. This must be one of your schemes." So he suddenly found Yuan saying, "Sorry if I kept you waiting, my love." And the poor guy nearly fainted from the shock of that word, trying to figure out what was going on. Then the other woman said, "She must be an extra you hired to play your girlfriend." But our girl quickly replied, "No, I'm his girlfriend. I work for him, and soon enough I'll be his wife. Just clear your heart and say inshallah." The pushy woman actually believed them because of how convincing Yuan was, and she even invited him to a party her father was hosting at their hotel. When the meeting ended, our hero realized Yuan had been planning to bring in an actress to play his girlfriend in case Susu and Shosho refused to deny being involved with him. But that actress backed out, and Yuan stepped in herself, only to find she'd taken on a whole different role without them. Still, he was impressed by her acting and warned her to watch out for the clingy woman because she was dangerous. But of course, Yuan's mind was purely practical, so she said, "But she plays violin, she's famous, and she studied abroad. Something admirable. If it weren't for your gossip with other women, I'd have told you to date her and go public with the news. That would distract people with something new." At that point, poor Wei nearly gave himself a stroke, because his crush was casually suggesting he go date someone else like she was inviting him for a seaside walk. He quickly told her, "You'll have to keep playing the girlfriend role you started, so we can go to that hotel party and convince your father to join me." She agreed, of course, since it was about the company's future, while he felt completely invisible, just carrying the weight of it all. Restless and uneasy by her side. Then he noticed she was wearing heels, and remembered when she said, if a man bought a woman's shoes, it meant he was a monster and it would work. So he apologized. "Sorry, I didn't bring heels. You'll go to the party in your sneakers because the budget's tight." And he convinced her, reluctantly. It didn't matter anymore whether she thought he was stingy or not. Throughout the party, she kept glaring at him and saying, "Shame on you for the sneakers you made me wear." After the clingy woman finished playing, she came to cut the cake with Yuan. Our hero told her, "Sorry, I have an allergy." Then the crowd around him got loud and he heard them whisper, "His secretary tricked him and laughed at him to get his money." He turned on them and said, "I have the honor of calling her my girlfriend. She's far too good for me. She's a hard-working person who succeeds by her own effort, not someone living off her parents and taking pocket money from my mom and dad like you. I hope I never hear another word about her because I'll be very upset." Then he took her, and they went outside, and he told her again that those words came from his heart. She thanked him for the sweet things he said about her. Then he left to see the clingy woman's father. The clingy woman went after him and told her, "If it weren't for Wei, we could have been friends." At that moment, a woman annoyed Yuan, so the clingy woman pushed her away and told the other to mind her manners. She said, "It's my fault I stood up for you because I know you love Wei," and left after embarrassing her in front of Yuan. But clearly, the clingy woman was brave and admitted she really loved him, and felt he was just toying with her, so she'd be the one who suffers in the end. Suddenly, our girl felt like she'd entered a cold war. May God be with them. After that, she called the man from 2025 and asked him straight, "What's going to happen to me?" He told her, "You'll die at the C+ hotel." She cried out, "Oh my God, but I'm there right now." The last thing she heard before the line cut was his voice saying, "Go there immediately." She ran to the car and messaged Wei to come so they could leave, but he was busy with the clingy woman's father, and she stayed in the car until she spotted the old man disguised entering the hotel. She decided to go look for Wei. That fool might do something to her, and at that moment she ran into the clingy woman's father and asked about him. He told her Wei had just left, and when he walked away, he told his secretary to follow her and find out who this woman was who kept catching Wei's attention instead of his daughter. Meanwhile, our hero was looking for her too, but she had fallen into the hands of the old man, who strangled her and threw her into the sea, according to what happened, as Wei 2025 later told him. The bitter surprise this time was that our noble young man from 2024 jumped into the water to save her, and of course those memories immediately rushed into Wei 2025's mind, so he rejoiced that he managed to save her. He ran outside and met the doctor and the lively girl, who asked him where he was going. He told them he was going to Yuan, and they replied, "Good morning. Yuan has been dead for a year. You must accept it." They found her murdered in her apartment. In other words, the result is the same, just the method and timing of death differ. Now let's go back to 2024, where we find Yuan in the hospital. As soon as she wakes up, our hero is beside her, anxious for her, but she doesn't look at him much until the lively girl arrives. She showed her the video of him jumping into the water and saving her, and then the lively girl narrowed her eyes and told her, "You're sharp. You must understand what this means. Hurry up, I need to wear a dress." At that time, our hero was lost in another world, only thinking about how she had been in danger, so he told the lively girl that they needed to find who did this. That's when our girl told them she had seen the old man, so she went back to the hotel to warn Wei, and then everything happened as it did. When he heard this, he sent the lively girl to check the hotel's cameras again, and also to bring his car from there, but she dragged the doctor into it instead, stole his car, and left him the motorbike, telling him, "Go on, hero, bring your friend's car from the hotel." You know how the doctor is too sweet for this stuff. At that point, our heroes had left the hospital and gone to Yuan's house, where he asked her what made her return to the hotel after she had already left. She told him she was afraid he might be in danger. Just as the moment was about to turn romantic, the doctor interrupted them and called him, saying that Yuan's friend had just called her, warning her not to go back to her apartment. At the same time, our guy realized that someone really had been inside her apartment, but escaped through the pipes. Oh, and I forgot to mention, when the doctor went to get the car, he found Yuan's red phone inside ringing, and of course, it was Wei 2025. But he could never tell the doctor the truth because surely he'd panic. Anyway, after all that, he insisted she move in with him where she'd be safe and under his eyes. The doctor later came to their place and gave her the phone, and when she asked him to tell her the details of the call, he remembered the voice had told him to tell her to leave the house immediately, and the whole world knows this man is single since birth, and his secret was about to be exposed loudly, but then he told her not to drag him into details, that it was enough she was safe. Our hero tried to find out from him who that friend of hers was, but the doctor told him to ask her directly, so he let it go and went inside, just as the lively girl came back with his car that she had stolen. He rode with her to drop her at her place before heading home himself. Too many errands, and the weather wasn't helping. The bright side, though, was that on the way, she confessed she liked him, even though he seemed too innocent, never dated before, and all the love advice he kept giving Yuan came from dramas. That's not Wei, guys. That's me. May God protect me. But honestly, this relationship looked like it might work, so good luck to them. As for Yuan, she asked our hero for some makeup remover, thinking his house was full of girls going in and out, but he told her no, she was the first girl ever to enter his home, and even with Susu and Shushu, he had only arranged for them to act like he was dating them to fool the old man into thinking he was a player. She was happy to hear he wasn't really into other girls, and he was relieved she knew the truth. Meanwhile, his friend's car had run out of gas and broken down on the road, So he called Wei to come help him. Wei used his situation as leverage, telling him to share tips on how to get her attention, and in return, he'd send someone to rescue him. The guy gave him a brilliant idea, telling him to blow in her ear and convincing him it would work. But between us, and given what the lively girl had just done to him, this was only a setup for disaster. It failed miserably and ended with him getting hit. Anyway, after that, they sat down for dinner, and he repeated for the millionth time that she was the first girl to ever enter his house. She told him, "Yeah, we got it. Just eat and stay quiet." He remembered the old days when she used to sleep over at his place as a kid because of people bothering her and debts hanging over her. He had gotten used to her staying in his apartment. Back then or now, no one but her had ever entered his home. Anyway, when he was about to sleep, the lively girl sent him videos of the old man at the hotel and told him he probably met someone else there, but the cameras didn't catch who it was. So, who could that person be? Let me take a wild guess. Maybe the father of the spoiled girl, pretending to be kind and noble. Now, for a fresh surprise, in 2025, Mr. Wei is a suspect, and rumors are flying that he killed Yuan. With his house being the crime scene, he was like, why does it look like no matter how many times I save her from one death, she ends up dying in an even worse way? And this time they're saying he killed her himself. But he made a bet with himself back in 2024, saying, I'll protect her no matter what, and this drama will have a good ending. So, in 2024, our girl went back to the hotel pool where she had nearly drowned before, determined to face her fear by learning how to swim. When he found out she'd hired a male trainer, he was like, "Excuse me? What about me then?" and insisted on training her himself. Then she surprised him by bringing along a photographer to document their epic love story, planning to use photoshopped shots to counter the tabloid gossip. He, of course, seized the chance as always, telling the photographers to capture them in the water, face to face, pretending to kiss. After that, they headed back to the hotel, only to run into the spoiled girl who smirked and said, "Where are you going, dressed in those stylish bathrobes?" She kept nagging until she managed to pressure them into spending the day with her. He told her sorry, but they could handle everything with Photoshop. And they actually went down and took some stunning photos to show people how much they loved each other. At night, when they went up to sleep, they found housekeeping had decorated their room like a cheesy 90s honeymoon suite. And the episode's question is, what's the point of folding a towel into the shape of a duck? I mean, I don't know how the answer would be useful, but excuse your sister's curiosity. Oh wait, actually, there was someone even more curious than me. The spoiled girl. She spent the whole night knocking on their door, asking things like, "What, are you going to bed already? Did you have dinner? Did you drink tea? What's that blanket on the couch? Oh, thank God, did you fight?" The poor couple kept trying to handle her until Yuan reached her limit and just ignored her, because a human being does have the right to sleep. After that, they went back to the company, and Yuan was about to lose her mind, trying to figure out why the man from 2025 had suddenly stopped calling her. But she left it aside and went home with our hero, and they started thinking about why the old man was so determined to get rid of her, having tried to kill her twice. Later, when she was in her room, she thought out loud and realized he might know about the red phone and its magic, and maybe that's why he wanted to take it. After all, what else would he want from her? And of course, I don't need to say that she didn't mention any of this to Wei. But the truth is, he came in at the perfect time, when she had hurt her leg. He immediately carried her to put cream on it. The next day, she went near her house and found the red phone ringing. She answered, and it was Wei 2025. She asked him where he had disappeared the past few days. He told her he had been in some trouble, but luckily got through it. She kept pressing him until he admitted that he was actually her old neighbor, who used to live upstairs, and that really moved her, because she hadn't forgotten how much that neighbor had helped and protected her from many bad people. So she asked him if he had been watching over her all these years. He told her no, not at all. He hadn't seen her since the day she left the house until that one Sunday. Then the line suddenly cut. She started remembering how she used to cling to him and even spend the night at his place, because she once found some pills there by accident and was scared he might hurt himself. Those calls made her realize that he knew everything about her, which meant he was still inside her circle. So who could he be? At first she guessed it might be that fiance guy she went to meet, since she had agreed with him right after that to keep pretending until his family accepted the girl he really loved. Now let's jump to gloomy 2025, where the doctor found out about the red phone and told our hero to stop trying because Yuan's fate was the same no matter what. Nothing would change destiny. Just then, a photoshopped picture arrived, and Wei 2025 sat there sulking, saying how jealous he was. He complained that his old version had avoided Yuan to keep her out of trouble, only to see her die in front of him, and he didn't even know why the engagement had happened in the first place. Meanwhile, his updated version in 2024 was having the time of his life with her, all cheerful and happy. The doctor, poor guy, felt like he should admit him straight to the neurology department because the situation was clearly off the rails. Anyway, leaving that disaster behind, back in 2024, the outspoken friend told Wei that Yuan was hanging out with one of their company employees, the fiance. So he brushed the whole thing off for now and talked to her instead about how they could lure out the old man and find out who was behind him. After all that was done, he planned to surprise our heroine with the truth and tell her that he was her neighbor. The funny part is she kept guessing who he could be among all the men in her life, and she swore it could never be Mr. Wei. But honestly, the groom was still on her mind as a possibility. The next day, she even found breakfast on her desk at work and thought it was from her colleague, the groom, and started to believe he might actually be her neighbor. Oh, Yuan, my dear, not just that. After Wei went out of his way to make her the herbal drink himself, she told him she had met an old friend who brought her food she loved. He thought she meant him and got so happy, without realizing she was actually talking about the groom. On top of that, her run-ins with the groom kept piling up, so she grew more suspicious and focused on him. Her outgoing friend noticed it and asked why, and our girl admitted she suspected he might be someone she knew. Then her friend changed the subject and said that our hero was going to meet the clingy girl, asking if she was okay with it. She said, yeah, it's fine, he was only my fiance, but you and I and her outgoing friend know it was anything but fine. That's why Yuan quickly texted him asking if he was free for dinner, but he replied that he had plans. Then boom, she spotted him getting into the clingy girl's car, and she felt so embarrassed with herself for being jealous. So when she got back home, and he told her he'd had dinner with the clingy girl's father, she shot back. And with his daughter, too. I saw her. By the way, it's normal to have female friends. I mean, I have guy friends. Remember the old friend I told you about? He's actually the father of that troublemaker in our company. He's my close friend. Turns out, while trying to cover her jealousy, she ended up shocking him by showing she hadn't recognized him at all, and even had another close guy friend. But don't worry, that awkward moment didn't last long, because when she went into her room, she accidentally found a recording in his voice teaching the parrot to call her by the sweet nickname she loved. She started piecing things together in her head and became completely sure that Mr. Wei was her neighbor, the one she had never been able to forget. She got really upset that he hadn't told her all this time, even though it was clear he knew her and had just been pretending otherwise. So when he knocked on her door and asked her to go out, she agreed. But she swore she'd make him pay and squeeze him dry since he wasn't being honest. And she really did. She made the whole outing as expensive as possible. But suddenly, while they were walking, someone bumped into them, and we learned then that the old man was on the phone with someone saying, "You set the date for the conference and then escape after that. And what's this talk about me? You and I both know Wei's father died because of you, and I'll never take the blame for it." Now let's jump straight into 2025, where our hero was standing in front of her grave while she was on the phone with him from 2024, telling him she had found out he was Wei. He apologized for hiding it and told her that she had died because of him, because they never spoke again after she quit his company, right up until the day he learned she was leaving the country. He rushed to the airport to catch her, and from that moment her life turned upside down. Do you know what happened? While he was talking to her, her grave suddenly disappeared and new memories and photos showed her in a hospital. He rushed over and found her in a coma, with the doctor telling him to prepare himself because his wife might never wake up again. Scientifically, that news would crush any man about his wife, but Wei was overjoyed because at least Yuan was still breathing and hadn't died this time. Fate really was changing. Back in 2024, our heroes, along with the outgoing friend and the groom, were heading to that conference we mentioned. And that's when Yuan insisted on riding with the groom just to annoy Wei, who was sitting there sulking and refusing to admit he was her neighbor, completely confused as to why she was treating him so coldly. And on the way, it started raining heavily and the roads got closed. That's when we found out that the spoiled girl was on their route too. She was heading to the conference in her father's place since he wasn't feeling well. But in the end, they postponed it because of the weather, so they all stayed in a hotel. Even there, Yuan couldn't stand a word from Wei, so she stuck with the outgoing friend instead. Wei told the groom to stop trying to sweet-talk Yuan, but the groom just laughed and said, "Relax, man. I know you two are together. Yuan's like a sister to me. You don't have to worry. I don't know about you girls, but I really don't trust this smooth-talking guy." Anyway, later the spoiled girl cornered Wei and told him that her father wanted to send her abroad again and that she shouldn't waste her time hanging on to him when he clearly loved someone else. He took her to the garden so they could talk properly, and just then, Yuan spotted them from the window. The groom came to her and asked if she was jealous. She said, "Not at all. I trust my boyfriend," and then started asking him about the girl he loved. He told her that she liked another guy, and he began hinting at things only her neighbor would know. That made her wonder why the groom was pretending to be her neighbor. Didn't I tell you he was shady? As for Wei, he told the spoiled girl straight up that he could never love her, that he only saw her as a friend, because the only one he loved was Yuan. And even though their relationship wasn't official yet, he would always see her as his moon, his sun, his shadow, so she shouldn't waste her feelings on him. She got really upset and told him she wouldn't go abroad again. Meanwhile, the groom saw someone dressed in black with a weapon heading into Yuan's room. He decided this was his chance to win her trust. So he acted like a movie hero and rushed in to fight the guy. But it turned out the outgoing friend was in the room, and she gave him a proper beating instead. The real surprise was that it wasn't even the old man, because he was actually downstairs at that moment trying once again to kill Yuan. But, as always, our boy Wei was standing in his way and managed to save her. That's when we learned they had arranged the whole conference just to lure the old man inside instead of letting him run away. But the old man was still arrogant and told them he was just warming up, that things would get real later. So our charismatic hero told him, "Do whatever you've got." After that, he learned that Yuan had missed the shooting stars she wanted to see, so he took her to watch glowing fireflies instead to make it up to her. And that's when he couldn't hold back anymore. He told her he was her neighbor and that having her in his life after his parents died was what saved him. But when he met her again later, he was scared to drag her into his troubles, and that's why he never told her the truth. Then he gave her back her school badge that he had been keeping with him for years. She opened her heart too and told him that he had also saved her from her loneliness and gave her the sense of safety she had always been searching for. That's why, when she started working and met him again, seeing how much he cared for her reminded her of the neighbor she had missed so much. After that, thank God, they finally confessed their love properly instead of all the endless hints we've been watching since the very first episode. Now let's switch back to 2025. Sorry I'm dragging you along with me, but life's circumstances are stronger than me. There, our boy was sitting by her side in the hospital, hoping she would wake up. That's when he got a call from the doctor saying the investigation proved the groom was the killer. He remembered the day he found Yuan lying in a pool of blood in the garage, and he realized that the timeline was changing, that things were getting tangled, and that it was finally time. That's when 2024 Wei took the phone from him, and the two of them decided to join forces to protect Yuan. Yeah, I know, sounds crazy, right? Anyway, let's go back again to 2024. There, our heroes had spent the whole day together, and by morning it was time for the conference. That's when the smooth-talking groom noticed that Yuan had finally figured out Wei was her neighbor, and he realized his chances were gone. After that, she rode with Wei on the way to the conference, and along the road she told him how much his father had loved him, and how she herself had encouraged his father to get closer to his son. But sadly, on his father's birthday, when Wei didn't answer his calls, his father said, "Let work be there for him then." Not long after, the old man passed away, and Wei had been living with regret ever since. So Yuan told him not to carry the burden or blame himself, and that it was enough that they were together now. He admitted she was right, but then reminded her that she once told him she had a gift for him, so she promised to give it to him, but only after she got permission from someone first. Anyway, they finally arrived, and Yuan went down to the garage while talking to Wei 2025 on the phone. He told her how relieved he was that she was only in a coma and not dead, and that they had now found out the groom was the one who killed her. But from now on, she should talk only to Wei 2024, and he handed over the phone. At that very moment, the groom was planning to run her over, but he changed his plan when Mr. Wei suddenly showed up. Yuan then told him everything, and it turned out the phone had originally been invented by his father. Then she gave him the phone and said, "Here, talk to yourself because you've been giving me a headache since the start of this series, and one version of you is more than enough for me." After that, the groom went to her office and confessed that he had loved her all along but was too afraid to tell her in case she pushed him away. He said it was finally time to speak his heart, but she told him, "Thanks, but I only love Wei, and you'll always just be a colleague." At that moment, the boss was also there with them, and the lively one mentioned that a strange network had appeared in the company and no one knew where it was coming from, so our hero split them up to track the source. The groom, meanwhile, went straight to where Yuan was, almost as if he could sense she had the phone with her. She quickly hid it behind her back when she saw him. Just then, Wei walked in and told the groom to search somewhere else. But the groom's eyes caught Yuan hiding something in the bathroom. After she left, he went in and took the phone. And here we understand that it was all a plan against the groom so they could track the phone's location and find out who was behind him because the phone's target wasn't Yuan at all. You know how these dramas work, so you won't be surprised when I tell you the spoiled girl's father is the one who wants the phone. Years ago, he learned that Wei's father was building a phone that connects different times. Wei's father said he was inventing it for science, but the spoiled girl's father had his eye on the money this invention could bring, and when Wei's father refused to sell, he kept chasing him. So when the red phone rang and Yuan picked up, asking why he had disappeared for a year and promising she hadn't told anyone about the phone, that's how we see why those people wanted Yuan dead from the start of the series. But let me add, the man never left Wei's father alone. Even when Wei's father hid, the man tracked him down and kept chasing him and his men. So you can imagine his joy now that the groom brought him the red phone. He thought he could change his life, become a better father, make a life to his liking. The problem was that only Wei knew how to use the phone, so the spoiled girl's father had to make him do it at any cost. At that moment, we find Wei sitting with Yuan and the lively girl, telling them he had been suspicious of that man from the beginning. Yuan remembered when her father gave her the phone and told her to call him at this exact time 1 year later and confirm she hadn't told anyone about it, which is exactly what happened. But the difference is that the spoiled girl's father was the one who answered. So his plan had worked. He managed to create a temporal connection no one else knew about. That's why he staged the accident that killed Yuan's father and sent 1,000,000 men to try to take the phone from Yuan. He'd known her all along. And now the whole plot has become extremely dangerous, especially since the man turned out to be obsessed. He only wanted the phone because he had a serious illness and wanted to save himself. But it looked like he had fallen into a trap, and they gave him a fake phone. As for the situation in 202, it wasn't good at all because sadly Yuan died in the hospital, and our hero was completely lost, not knowing where to go or what to do. So he had his doctor friend call Wei 2024 and tell him she had died too. Nobody could change that. He told him, "You deal with it on your side." The truth was, he had no choice but to tell her honestly, "Apply to study for a year in France, that way I can make sure you're far from all the mess here." She agreed because really they had no other solutions. After that, our hero sat down with the doctor and the determined one and wrote a will in French so Yuan could benefit from it in case something happened to him. He had his friends witness the will. What exactly was in it, no one knew, but the determined one and the doctor told him if she ever found out about this, it would blow up into a fight because he had taken advantage of the fact that she didn't know French, but he believed it was for her own good and went through with it, making her sign it. The next day, he took her to a place where there was a phone booth where you could leave a recorded message that would be delivered to the recipient exactly 1 year later. He went in and left her a message, telling her she might really hate him by next year, maybe angry at him, and that he was sorry if he didn't keep his promises or stay by her side. He also said he didn't know how Way 2025 managed to endure being apart from her, but the most important thing was that she would always remain the sun that lit up his dark life. She, on the other hand, told him she didn't know if she would still be with him the following year or not, but he would always be the only person who made her feel safe, and she was so happy he was her love, because there was no one else like him. She also told him that if by then she wasn't with him anymore, he had to stay strong, carry on, and live his life without letting grief consume him, because life is still long. Who knows? Maybe they would meet again in another time. Honestly, I feel like we're intruding on these two's privacy. Anyway, after they finished that deep love exchange, he found her writing a letter to Way 2025, hoping it would reach him. He got jealous and told her, "No, sorry, I want you to love only me." He felt luckier than the Way from 202, who never even talked to her, and whose life was completely ruined. Later that night, when they went home, he asked her if he proposed. Would she say yes or no? She told him, "Honestly, we'll be apart when I travel. How can I be sure that after marrying you, you won't kill my ambitions and tell me my wife doesn't work?" Poor guy was shocked by the picture she painted in her imagination and told her, "No, my love, I'm a modern man. I'll support you in everything and anything. Just say yes." And of course she agreed, because our guy is a star, and she didn't say no. The next day he saw her off at the airport and then called the 2025 version of himself to tell him she had traveled safely. And now, my friends, we arrive in 2025, and I have to tell the honorable officials, help us, because what happened is beyond words, but I have no choice but to explain. Madam Ewan is alive in 2025 and received the voice note from Way, the one I just told you about a little while ago. Every time she listened to a word, she cried and cried and cried. And if you noticed, the sadness was written all over her face, clear as day. So it seems he did something crazy. You probably guessed it already, he swapped places with her in fate. I really wished we were wrong, but right after, we see her going to visit his grave. We learn that after she traveled, some people attacked him at the factory, hit him on the head, and killed him. His cause of death didn't change, it stayed the same. All the 2025 versions wanted was for Ewan's story to keep going, but she felt their love story wasn't meant to end like that. Now we jump back to 2024, hoping someone can save the day. We find the schemer's father calling Way, asking to meet up and fix everything. But of course, it was a trap. The man wanted Way to unlock the red phone for him, and then bam, finish him off and be rid of him. But the groom, Sehun, noticed that the schemer's daughter was listening to them, so he realized she could become a danger to them. As for Way, the smartest of his siblings, he didn't answer her when she tried to warn him. Man, even if you had a death wish, you wouldn't act like that. But honestly, there was nothing else he could do anyway, since her father had already taken her phone and locked her up at home, even though she threatened to kill herself if he touched Way. In the middle of all that chaos, the plan was for the fearless one to go to our hero so he wouldn't be left alone. But the doctor, who had finally agreed with her to start a relationship, despite being so shy he could barely get the words out, told her to stay at the hospital so she could answer the call from 2055, and that he'd be the one to go meet Way, face the villains, and make Kings of Bravery Part 2 and all that nonsense. Of course, he only said that because he was too embarrassed to admit he was scared for her, until she pushed him to confess. When he did, she told him she would start seriously thinking about their relationship and see if the two of them trying could actually work out. But in the end, she still did what she wanted and went to Way anyway. The agreement was that Way would go to the schemer's father at the factory, and stall him long enough for the fearless one to hack his phone. And that's exactly what happened. The man figured out the phone was fake, and right then he got a call from his partner telling him their shady deals had been exposed online. That's when he realized Wei had tricked him and told him, "Don't dream of getting out of here alive." Meanwhile, Yuan was still at the airport with a book titled Asterisk, Learn French in 2.5 days asterisk. And in that moment, her eyes fell on a word that had been in the will he made her sign. She tried to call him, but found his phone switched off, so she called the doctor, and, miraculously, he was the one speaking to her on the red phone in 2025, not understanding why she was the one answering him instead. But of course, she told him that Wei was in danger. She went back from the airport in the 2024 version and went with him and the fearless one to the factory, and thank God they rescued Wei after he had been locked up. He was overjoyed. And if you're wondering what the schemer's father did, well, he went and turned himself into the police. He also entrusted Sehun with his daughter and told him he had left her money to live like a queen abroad. As for Wei, let me reassure you that he got better quickly, so much that Yuan even teased him about the reckless stunt he had pulled, and he didn't stay long in the hospital either. But when she found out that he had written all his wealth in his will under her name, she was so annoyed at first since he had done it behind her back. Still, his sweet words that she wasn't his wife yet, but already his whole life softened her heart. She forgave him and told him they shouldn't live afraid of a future that hasn't happened yet, or waste their lives. She made him promise that no matter who died first, the other one must keep living and not drown in sadness, like the Wei and Yuan of 2025. A few days later, our heroes learned that the schemer's daughter was in the hospital after attempting to take her own life. They went to see her, and she apologized to our hero for everything that happened because of her father. We also found out that Sehun had betrayed her. He neither gave her the money nor the key to the safe her father had left her, and instead kept bombarding her with threatening calls. She was too scared to answer, so Wei made her pick up and put him on speaker. Sehun turned out to be blackmailing her for half the money, so she agreed to meet him at a certain place to settle it. After that, our hero gathered Yuan and the whole gang to think about why Sehun was chasing the schemer's daughter now. The only explanation that came to mind was that he wanted the red phone. So they went to Sehun's village to search his old house. But he wasn't there, or at least he pretended not to be. That's when our heroes began to suspect that maybe the schemer's daughter had set them up, working with him to break them apart. And the truth was they were right, because he caught them and kidnapped Yuan, and they kept searching for her all through the night. And the shocking part was that she overheard him talking to the schemer's daughter, telling her he was willing to do anything for her. Of course, anything meant getting rid of Yuan so he could have her all to himself. Our girl tried to escape and run from him, but he was faster. They ended up in a dramatic face-off on a narrow cliff that dropped straight into the sea. Yuan told him he was wasting his youth on a woman who was just using him. And look at the irony, even she, a stranger, could tell he loved her, while that woman never cared. She said he was talented in his job and a decent man. He admitted she was right, but confessed that he had been fooled by her and her father, lured in with promises of money. Just when Yuan was about to try negotiating with him, Wei showed up and ordered him to stay where he was or get burned. Instead, the guy grabbed Yuan right away and was about to jump with her, but then realized she had nothing to do with it. He said he had only wished he could have had the phone to change his fate with the schemer's daughter. Those were his final words before he let go of our heroine and threw himself off. Away from all that action, Ewan later told our boy that if it weren't for everything that happened, she would have never realized just how much she loved him and that he was her whole life. Honestly, he's a gem, and it's only fair she fell for him. The sweetest part, my friend, is that now in 2025, our couple is together, living a happy life at last. The gloomy Wei found peace, and he's living with Yuan happily ever after. He even called his 2024 version just to tease him, saying, "I'm happy in my life now too, same as you, so you can go ahead and break the phone." And then he made her a photoshopped picture, just like the 2024 version had done, planning to copy every single romantic thing they did. Because really, why should they have all the fun and not him? But let me not hide it from you, trouble was still brewing. While he was teaching her how to drive, with the music on and everything, out of nowhere, a car crashed right into them. And I don't think you'll be surprised when I tell you who was behind the wheel. Yes, the schemer's daughter. Because whether it's 2024 or 2025, a schemer stays a schemer in every time and place. And back in 2024, our guy became certain that the schemer's father was the reason his father died, that he had been instigating all the bad things. Ewan comforted him, and then they went to see the schemer's daughter when she asked to meet. There, she apologized to our hero for everything that had happened because of her and her father, promised she'd always be on their side, and said she was leaving the country for good. Up to that point, great, except it wasn't great, because at that exact moment, 2025 Wei called and Yuan answered. He spoke in his gloomy, mustached voice and said everything had gone wrong because of the schemer's daughter, and he warned her not to let Wei teach her to drive no matter what. Funny thing is, our heroine wasn't surprised that the schemer's daughter was the cause of all the trouble, because she and the gang had suspected her from the start, and confirmed their suspicions after that call from Wei 2025. Also, when they told her the news about Sehun's death, the schemer's daughter pretended to be shocked, even though she was the one who'd been stirring all this mess behind the scenes. So Yuan handed the phone to the schemer's daughter on purpose, so they could overhear her and set their trap. You'll ask how they found out she'd brought a present to Wei for his birthday the year his father died. That present had originally come from Yuan's father, so it fell into the schemer's daughter's hands. See the logic? She could have been the one who killed the father. Why? Because the spoiled girl turned out psycho. She wanted to get rid of everyone close to him so she could be his whole world. That's why they all understood why she'd been trying to kill Yuan from the very beginning of the story. Our clever heroine said, "So we're going to give her a fake scenario, make it look like she's killed me on our terms, and we'll deal with her before she can strike again." Honestly, our hero rejected that idea at first, but he had no better option, especially after hearing what Wei 2025 had told him. But after that, our boy kept turning it around in his head, calculating the distances and how the accident would happen, and he found something strange that I still don't really understand, which is that the spoiled one wanted to kill him in that accident and didn't expect Yuan to try to protect him and end up dying herself. Love really can kill, right? Anyway, they talked with the 202 version and lured her easily so she could steal the phone. And then he spoke to her from 2020 pretending he was Yuan, telling her his first plan about the hotel, so that everything would be in their hands. Forget the headache and let's stick to what matters. Our hero decided to take a step and propose to her properly, in a way worthy of her. And he thought if one of them died, at least they would die officially married. So he arranged with the doctor and the area to prepare the restaurant where he was going to propose, and the two of them worked so hard decorating it. But what happened is that Yuan beat him to it and proposed first. He told her, "Well, you kind of ruined my surprise because I was planning something big, but nobody's guaranteed a lifetime. The important thing is that we stay together, so I agree." And to be fair, he's the one who put the ring on her finger. And the two of them did a nice thing for their friends, and booked the restaurant for them too, hoping the doctor would finally make a move on the cheerful one. Honestly, he didn't. But at least he said everything in his heart, and admitted that he had never thought about love or commitment until he met her, and that she had never left his mind since the first time he saw her. She also told him she had relied on herself until she met him, and from then on she felt he was the man she could depend on. So they agreed there was no need to wait, and decided to go register their marriage tomorrow. And that's exactly what happened right after. They both went to attend our hero's wedding, which they also rushed to do so they wouldn't waste time. But the breaking news was that the bride wasn't there. Yes, just like I'm telling you, the spoiled one. She showed up in his place with all the nerve in the world and said, "Forget it, Yuan, be with me." She sent her friend to the freezer where they knew Yuan would be locked, and he exposed her, telling her, "You're the one who killed my father. Your presence in my life is like a nightmare." Now we learn she didn't mean to kill his father, she wanted the phone. She showed up when his father was running from his men, the schemer's men, who also wanted the phone, and when they reached a safe spot, his father asked to get out of the car. He got out, but she didn't want him to leave, and kept pushing him until he slipped, hit his head on a big rock, and died instantly. Of course, when her father found out, he sent her away and told her not to give anyone the resume, and that he would handle the matter. That's the mystery of the gift Yuan gave her dad. It turned out to be in Wei's father's hands when he died, and she had kept it. At that moment, our girl really was in the freezer, but with the refrigeration on and flowers around her, flowers that normally give her an allergic reaction, the opposite of what happened in 2025. As the brave friend opened the freezer, Yuan noticed the schemer's daughter wanted to kill our hero too. And when she realized he was alone with the schemer's daughter outside, she panicked and ran to catch up with him because the schemer's daughter was coming straight for him, wanting to kill him simply because he didn't love her. By the time Yuan arrived, the schemer's daughter had pulled out a knife and pointed it at our hero. Yuan ran and took the blow herself, and the guy froze in shock. When he realized what they had done, Yuan had died after all. Her final wish before her eyes closed was that he should smash the phone and not live moping like the Wei of 2025, and that he should carry on with his life. But he didn't listen to her. He stayed depressed, right through to 2025, growing that pathetic mustache like nothing she said ever mattered. But hold on a second, we didn't sit through all of this just for the young lady to die in the end. That's not fair. And to make things even worse, he sat there listening to the message she had left for him, the one that was supposed to reach him after a year, and I can't even tell you how broken he was. On top of that, since he's always joking around and teasing, his friends were sticking close to him at home, scared to leave him alone in case he did something to himself. What matters now is that tomorrow marks 1 year since all of these events happened, and if he smashes the phone, all of them will lose their memories with Yuan and only remember her as Wei's secretary. The brave friend told him, "If it were just about us, it wouldn't matter, but if you forget the good days you had with her, that would be a crime. And if you keep remembering her, you'll keep torturing yourself forever." He brushed her off sarcastically, left them, and went outside to get some air, because, scientifically speaking, neither he, nor they, nor I had any solutions for him. He ended up staying at the pier until morning broke, and then he called her in 2024, saying he was her neighbor who had moved away years ago. She was so happy to hear his voice, then sad when she learned his father had died. After that, he asked her to leave the red phone in a certain spot, told her to be extra cautious around Mr. Wei these days, and even asked her to quit her job and travel abroad for a couple of years. He was just about to wish her a happy life, knowing that it would be with Wei 2024, but the call cut off. So he kept talking to himself on the phone, saying he loved her, and that he was jealous of the 2024 version of himself. If you got lost here, let me clear it up. The Wei in 2025, the one we started this whole recap with, is no longer around. The one we're with now in 2025 is actually the same Wei who was in 2024. Now, the one in 2024 is actually a completely different guy, and honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if we find out there are 20 versions of him later. Anyway, let's go back to 2024, where Yuan's version is still alive and living in a new house, completely unaware of everything we've just seen. We find that she actually submitted her resignation and sent him files proving that some villains in the company were messing with the accounts. Later, he discovered she was on her way to Paris to enjoy some shopping, thanks to her severance pay. So he rushed to the airport to see her off, but unfortunately, he didn't catch her in time. He went back to the company to expose the big boss in front of the shareholders, just like in the beginning. And here comes the big twist. When all of these events happened, the memories were instantly transferred to Wei 2025, and boom, the grave disappeared. He ran back home but found all their things vanishing, their wedding photo, her clothes he had just kept, even the gift she had given his father. Instead of feeling happy, He was shocked and terrified all over again because, simply put, what happened made it seem like he had never married her or even known her in the first place. Man, even the wedding ring disappeared. Honestly, I'm this close to starting a donation campaign for the poor guy because my heart breaks for him. Anyway, after pulling himself together a bit, he went to check their old house and found that she had left him a birthday gift she made with his father, along with a letter and the phone. She wrote that when he called her, his voice didn't sound so good, so she gave him some encouraging words that he really needed. After that, he threw the phone into the sea, feeling like he was actually the luckiest version of them all, and so he decided to leave everything up to time, because right now she really wasn't his wife, but at least she was alive, enjoying her days strolling along the Champs-Élysées. Then time passed, and he found out from the carefree one that she had finally come back to the country and opened the guest house she had always dreamed of with her friend. So he booked a room there, but at that exact time she was planning to slip away, hesitant to face him, even though she had been telling her friend endless stories about him. But he was quicker than her. He showed up with the gift her father had left behind as a keepsake, and confessed that he was the neighbor who had always loved her, and whom she had loved too. That's when she admitted that she had always wished Wei would turn out to be her neighbor, and deep down she had always felt it was true. And now, finally, they could live happily ever after, since everything had gone back to its place again, thank God. Cue the ending credits rolling for their happy ending after all the back and forth through time. And speaking of time, tell me, what do you wish will happen to you next year, and what will you do to try to make it come true? And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you won't miss any of these sweet recaps. Don't forget to subscribe for more. Check out more recaps you'll absolutely love right here.